Welcome back to part 3 of our interview with Bill Troy, where he tells us why challenging assumptions and being a contrarian has made him a successful entrepreneur, and how to ask the 5 whys to get to the root cause of success. Stick around because part 3 is just around the corner.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performance Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. I want to dig in a little bit more into your book. I love the chapter, The Root Cause of Success. Caught my eye. Tell me a little bit about it.
Right. So in that chapter, that's where we go back and figure out where you got real customers from. So many businesses have had success, and they're switching to this online marketing quicksand trap because they're thinking they've got to scale up. They've got to grow from here, and they lose track of what's worked in the past. So we go through a root cause analysis to say, again, what are your best customers, the best ones you've ever had? How did you get them? What are all the steps that led up to that? And what we find often is that a lot of the steps were relationship-based steps that seemed accidental at the time. You knew someone from church, or you were in Rotary with them, or you'd been in the industry for a while, or whatever, or somebody brought in a new VP and that person wanted to change vendors, all those kinds of things that seem sort of accidental or happenstance. But when we start looking at it, we find that there is a pattern, and your business has been built on some sort of systematic thing that's been happening over time. So we go back and really diagnose what that is and how it really worked. And we used it in the book. I talk about the old Sakichi Toyoda, Toyota with a D, who ended up founding the company Toyota with a T that we all know today. That was a big thing of his. He actually had people go back and ask why 5 times. He did the 5 whys. Why did that happen? And why did that happen? Why did that happen? To get down to the very original root cause of whatever was occurring. And so he'd start with the problem and getting all the way back to what caused that problem, and then they could actually fix it. The same thing can happen with your sales, with your customers. Like, why did they do that? Why did they do that? And why did they do that? And you get all the way back to the beginning. You figure out exactly where that relationship needed to start and how it progressed over time. And that's how you can build that process. And then it's right for your business. This is one of the other things that I get mad about, is that one of the reasons that business owners fall for the ClickSand pitch when they get it brought to them, whatever that's for, online marketing in whatever form, is that it's a ready-made process, right? We're going to just plug this in. You're going to do this on your website, and people are going to click here, and they're going to download that, open, or you're going to post this ad, and they're going to, it's a process that supposedly leads from a simple action to being a customer. It doesn't really work, but it sounds like it works. It looks plausible. Draw it on paper. It seems to make sense. And so what happens is that they give you a ready-made plug-in process for your business to start following, and you ignore the processes that have been happening forever in your business. So when we go back and do this root cause analysis work, we find that the way the customers came to the company don't fit what they've been trying to do with online marketing. And that's why the online marketing isn't working. So you go back, isn't working. So that's why you go back and figure out exactly what are all the things that happened for that to become a customer for you.
I want to switch gears here for a second and switch into you as the CEO. What's made you successful, some of the pitfalls that you've fallen prey to, and just dig in a little bit. You are an Inc. 500 CEO. You do not get to that level unless you are badass and you know how to execute. So I'm going to pick your brain and find out what you did right, what you did wrong. So give us some of the, the background and behind the scenes. What's made Bill successful?
A couple of things. First of all, it's the challenging of assumptions. It's the being a contrarian. And I'll tell you something, though, that I think was a mistake I made. If I looked back on one thing I would have done differently, is that I would have started sooner. I didn't start my own business until I was 35. And what I realized eventually was that I always felt, I was one of those employees that was very talented, but always as a contrarian, always questioning everything. I was probably, a real pain in the butt for my bosses and the people that I worked for, but I was a talented guy, and so they loved that part of me. But I always was questioning everything, and what I realized was that I kept wanting to do my own thing, but I was asking everyone else in my life, "What do you think about this? What do you think about that?" And no one was ever excited about it because they said, "Well, why would you throw away what you're doing to start this thing that's completely, potentially a disaster?" And so I realized that entrepreneurs have a unique view of the world. And if you go around and asking other people to confirm that view, they can't frequently because that's not their view. So I should have just listened to myself. And I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs have done that. I didn't. I was listening to other people around me that I loved and trusted, but they kept saying, "Well, I don't know about that." Right? So I would have started sooner, I think, and gone with my gut and not asked for advice and just kind of leapt out there because eventually, once I did, it worked.
What about a morning routine? Do you have a set morning routine?
So I do. I do it about every other morning because my legs are getting older, so I can't run every day. But I run. I've been running. It's probably not a coincidence that when I started my business, I started running at the same time. I don't know which led to which, but I've done 20 years of marathons now, and I'm trying to keep these legs going so we can do 20 more. But from a business standpoint, in addition to that, keeping me physically healthy, I use it as one of the most creative aspects of my business life and personal life. I do a lot of unconscious cognition, where I plant some question or thought in the back of my mind, and I go for a run. And I find that I can put almost anything back there, almost any challenge I have, go for a run and come up about 3, 4, 5, 6 miles into it, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, all of a sudden the answer just appears in my head and I wasn't even thinking about the problem anymore. Your brain is amazing in that way that if you give it a little challenge and then stop thinking about it, your unconscious will keep working on the problem. And I've used it from everything from, what's a great thing to get for my wife for Christmas this year to how am I going to solve this, marketplace challenge for our business? How am I going to position a new product offering or something? It's amazing to me how often it works. So that's a regular routine I use to head out in the morning and then come back. And when I come back, I've got the answer and it's go time.
Yeah. Absolutely. I never go for a run or exercise or anything like that without something that I can make notes on. I usually use my phone and dictate something.
Yes.
Because it just flows to you. I was hiking up a mountain the other day, and I was walking up and down, getting ready to hike the equivalent of Mount Everest in 2 weeks up in Stratton Mountain with a bunch of crazy entrepreneurs. And literally, I'm walking up and down. I had to stand to the side of the trail because I'm like, okay, I got this. Oh, this is some good content. Oh, what about this? I'm like, this is how this is working. Yes. I'm like, what about this? And I come home from a hike and I've got 8 pages of notes.
I always have to have a notepad in some sort of every 20 minutes loop on my runs because I have to keep coming back and writing it down. Yeah. Or there's been times I didn't have a notepad and I've come back with trying to remember all my fingers E, G, it's like that, trying to remember 17 things I thought of. But it's amazing how your brain does that with whatever technique works for you, whether it's, some people do that when they sleep, actually. I don't. Some people wake up and think of ideas in the middle of the night. But figuring out what that is for you, it is so powerful. Your brain will come up with the most amazing stuff.
Absolutely. Pilot actually makes a pen that has a little LED light on the end of it. So at night, instead of turning on your cell phone, you can actually you click the pen, the little LED light goes on, and you can scribble a note in the middle of the night.
Excellent.
Yeah, I actually stay in bed for an extra 5 minutes because as soon as I wake up, thoughts just flow to me. It's really, really interesting. And one technique that I use with clients is, you'll go into a meeting and, so what's going on? Well, I'm kind of stuck with this, or we're stuck as an organization. And what I'll do is say, okay, follow me. And I'll literally get them out of their chair. And it's amazing if you feel stuck, if you just stand up and move, you're no longer stuck. It will actually mentally unstick you as well.
That's a great one. I actually do that myself, and I hadn't thought of it specifically. That I just feel like I gotta go for a walk, and so I didn't think about it as a specific technique like that. But that's great. Yeah,
and also try to drink some water as well. Just kind of activates your system. Take a deep breath. Taking some water. Sometimes you're just dehydrated.
Yeah, that's a common thing. Yeah,
everyone's running around dehydrated. Okay, so I'm going to dig a little bit more into
Yeah.
Bill, the CEO.
Sure.
Best advice you've ever received?
Wow. So, So the best advice, so refer back to the Inc. 500 again. So when I started my business in 1997, I wanted to be on the Inc. 500. I'd been reading Inc. magazine. I was a salesman, and I'd been reading Inc. magazine, on planes, and saying, I want to be those guys one day. And so it was just a goal I had from day one. Like, I don't know why. I'm just going to make the Inc. 500. It was just one of those validating things I wanted to accomplish. And so what I did was I started out at the very beginning, and there was in Columbus, Ohio, is a guy named Ross Youngs. Ross owns a company called Univenture. And Ross, at that time, well, I guess he still is, but Ross was a 5-time Inc. 500 CEO, 5 times in a row, 5 years in a row. I mean, that is superstar stuff. It's hard to make the list, and it's hard to do it 5 times in a row. And so I called him up, and I said, hey, I'm starting a business, and I want to be you when I grow up. And so the best advice I got was, him helping me think that way, but also the idea of just calling someone up like that. It's amazing who will mentor you if you are earnest and you really want to learn from them. Because for him, he was looking at me as himself back when he first started, right? So it was kind of fun for him to go through those early days, the early journey, and share his wisdom. And so I got amazing advice over several years from Ross, and I wouldn't have made the list without him. And so, it wasn't a particular line. It was just the idea that this guy was investing in me, and he had done it, and I could follow in his footsteps and learn from him. And so I always look for every opportunity to do that with other people starting their business, right? Let's talk about what you're trying to accomplish and, what you got to do to get there.
That is great. You figured out the goal, and then you found out someone had done it, modeling someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
And, and it wasn't always easy, man. I'll tell you, he was very tough on me, but that's what I needed, because where else are you going to get that? And he was very credible, of course, when he said it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I find a lot of people will reach out and ask for help, and then at the first sign that they have to do something, they disappear.
Yeah.
I said, great. Okay. So first of all, what I need you to do is this book. Read that book, and when you're done, call me back.
Yep.
Crickets.
Yep. Silence. Yep.
Silence.
Well, and that's the thing too. So if you do reach out to someone, make sure you really do plan to try to live up to their expectations. In his case, I would do whatever it took, because I realized, it's an incredibly valuable experience I'm getting from him, and I was always nervous about living up to his expectations. But you've got to go in with that mindset, and you'll get amazing stuff if you do.
Yeah, keep your commitments. One of the things I'm always screaming at the TV. Actually, I don't have TV, but I have a TV, but I don't have it turned on anymore. It's just don't want to use my time that way. But when I did, I loved Shark Tank. And it made me so agitated, I would scream at the TV. I looked stupid. I looked like I was insane, because here's this entrepreneur up there, and they're trying to figure out how to sell a piece of a company to the sharks.
Yep.
And they're talking about how much money I'm going to get and how much I'm going to give away. And I'm like, look, you've got the opportunity to get 2 or 3 of these sharks on your board in your company. Forget about how much money they're giving you. Get them on board to have them in your Rolodex.
Yeah, their advice and experience is worth more than any amount of money you're going to get from it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mentor a group of young entrepreneurs, and one of the guys in the group, Mark Cuban, is an investor in his company. And it's invaluable. He doesn't, obviously they're not talking every day, but it's fascinating. And to have somebody like that you have their phone number, can call and ask for their opinion on something, invaluable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Worst advice you ever received? You didn't know it was bad advice at the time. You executed on it and then look back and go, whoops, that probably wasn't good advice.
Well, it was that advice that I was getting from other people about whether I should start or not. I think that's the big thing for me, is that a lot of well-meaning people in our lives want the best for us and don't see entrepreneurship. And maybe, again, I started 20 years ago, so maybe in 1997 it's different than 2017. I think entrepreneurship is way cooler these days, given everything that's happened with the internet over that 20-year period. But back then it was not as cool. It was just kind of like it was going to be what crazy thing are you going to do? This is nuts. But I still think surely that you still get advice from people that are well-meaning that don't know what it means to be an entrepreneur. So I would say instead, and that mentor is one example of that, but also find some other peers of yours, business owners at whatever level you're at, that are also doing it well, that are killing it at your level. So you have someone above you that's aspirational and people next to you that are going through the same thing you're going through, and spend time with peers. I'm a big fan of peers from a business owner standpoint. And it really doesn't even matter what business they're in, because business owners are all going through the same thing. We're all having challenges finding great people and getting more customers and, all those sorts of things. So peers is another one, versus other people in your life versus friends and family or coworkers or whatever. I think you're going to get different advice.
That's great advice there. Literally tomorrow morning, I'm getting on a plane and heading to South Florida for a regional conference of the Entrepreneurs Organization. It's a 12,000 member entrepreneur group, and there's 600 entrepreneurs. All have $1 million plus businesses, all in different areas, and there's no place like that event or events around that organization, because they know exactly what you're going through.
Yeah. So I'm the president-elect of the Columbus chapter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I was about to mention EO myself, but I'm like, I don't want to keep plugging EO every time I talk to anyone. So, yes, huge value from that sort of an organization. Yes.
Yeah. Are you going to be in South Florida?
I'm not. No,
okay.
I'm in the central region, so I think we have something coming up in Austin or San Antonio. But yeah,
interesting. Yeah. I just applied to be a regional trainer for the Accelerator program.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, which I just love the Accelerator program and helping young entrepreneurs. So for those listening, if you have a business anywhere between $250,000 and $1 million, you can join the Accelerator program under EO. And you get around people that have businesses just like your own, and you're being mentored by one of the EO members, full EO members, to help you get past that $1 million mark.
Absolutely. And and then over $1 million, of course, regular EO membership. And yes, it is an amazing global network of like-minded people that understand. And also one of the things that and we might as well share with people is that it's experience-based, right? It's people sharing their own experiences of what they've been through. It's not advice giving. So I don't want anybody, I got plenty of people in my life to give me advice, but I want to hear someone that's been through the pain of whatever it is that I'm going through. And that's really powerful stuff when you talk about peers that way.
Absolutely. Well, I could talk for the next 3 hours, but this afternoon I have my forum meeting.
There you go. All right.
So for all the EO listeners out there, you know exactly what that is. It's basically like a board of directors meeting, and you share your experiences and get around like-minded people. So, Bill, this has been an amazing time to chat with you. Tell the audience how they can get in touch with you.
Right. So, in fact, you mentioned earlier about the drip campaign, and I'm not going to run a drip campaign either. But so what I did was I wanted to give people all the information about how this online marketing stuff can damage their business. So I put a page up. ClickSand.net is the website for the book, but we put clicksand.net/peak. And if you go there, you'll get chapter 5 from the book. It's not out yet, but chapter 5 goes through all the different ways this can damage your business, including some of that data stuff we talked about before. But I think it's really great for business owners to really see what's happening to them and their business and the people in their business that are trying to convince them to do this. So it's a really valuable chapter. Go ahead and get that for free. And don't give me your email address. I'm not going to send you email. Just go get it. And then there's also a little discount if you want to get the book when it comes out in February. And if anything else that we've talked about resonates, somebody can schedule some time to talk to me, and I'd love to talk more about this.
And where can they schedule that?
It's right there on the same page, clicksand.net/peak. Those three things are right on that page.
Awesome. Terrific. Well, Bill, thank you very much. Have an amazing week, and I look forward to having you back on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks, Thor.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners And if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.